Iran is facing one of its most serious internal crises in years, with protests, political blame games, and deepening economic distress converging into a volatile situation. As unrest continues to simmer, Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has directly blamed former US President Donald Trump for fueling weeks of deadly protests across the country. Speaking on Saturday, 17 January, Khamenei accused Washington of deliberately inciting unrest, claiming the protests were part of a foreign-backed conspiracy aimed at destabilizing the Islamic Republic. He rejected suggestions that the demonstrations reflected public anger against Iran's ruling establishment. The protests first erupted on 28 December, triggered by rising prices, unemployment, and worsening economic hardship. What began as small demonstrations over livelihoods quickly spread across cities and towns. Within days, they evolved into large-scale protests openly questioning clerical rule and the authority of Iran's religious leadership. According to international human rights organizations, the government's response has been brutal. Rights groups now claim the death toll has crossed 5,000. As Iranian security forces launched a violent crackdown, thousands more have reportedly been injured, arrested, or forced into hiding, while families struggle to trace missing relatives. Addressing the nation, Khamenei described the demonstrators as armed rioters posing as protesters and accused the United States and Israel of orchestrating violence from abroad. Iran's clerical leadership has gone a step further, labeling many protesters as terrorists and alleging that foreign intelligence agencies supplied weapons to provoke chaos. Officials insist that security forces were acting only to restore order and protect national stability. The supreme leader's remarks came amid repeated statements by Donald Trump, who has openly supported the protesters. Over the past weeks, Trump issued strong warnings to Tehran, threatening very strong action if Iran executed those detained during the unrest. In a surprising turn, Trump claimed on social media on Friday, 16 January, that Iran had called off mass hangings of protesters. Tehran quickly dismissed the claim, saying there was no plan to hang people and accusing the US of spreading misinformation to inflame tensions. Iranian officials argue that such statements have worsened an already fragile situation, especially as the country grapples with economic sanctions, inflation, and restricted access to global markets. But protesters and activists tell a very different story. Many say the demonstrations reflect genuine anger over corruption, lack of freedoms, and collapsing living standards. Videos circulating online show crowds chanting slogans against clerical rule, despite heavy security presence and repeated internet shutdowns. The government has frequently shut down mobile networks and social media platforms to curb the spread of protest footage. Still, images of clashes between demonstrators and security forces continue to surface, drawing global attention and condemnation. While street protests have gradually subsided in recent days, the economic crisis that triggered the unrest continues to deepen, hitting Iran's elderly population the hardest. For more than 2 weeks, protests swept the country, but beneath the anger of young demonstrators lies a quieter, more painful crisis: the daily struggle of retired and low-income elderly citizens. For a generation that helped build the nation, survival has become a constant challenge. I can't live like this at all. I can't afford a kilogram of fruit. I can't afford a kilogram of rice, said an elderly man in Tehran. Many elderly Iranians live on fixed pensions that have lost value as the currency weakened and prices soared. Medical care is often postponed, meals are skipped, and basic necessities are becoming unaffordable. I pay $55 for monthly rent. I took a $1,000 bank loan, and now I can't repay it. I don't know what to do, another elderly resident said. The situation is terrible. People's tables are shrinking day by day. The price of eggs has doubled, said an elderly woman in the capital. Iranian analysts point to years of sanctions and economic isolation as a major factor behind the crisis. One key reason behind the government's budget deficit has been sanctions imposed since around 2010. Oil revenues dropped sharply, and Iran faced major obstacles in accessing even those funds, said economic analyst Ehsan Zekarnia. As protests continue sporadically, Iran now stands at a critical crossroads. The leadership appears determined to crush dissent, while public frustration shows little sign of fading. With a rising death toll, economic pressure mounting, and political tensions deepening, the coming weeks could prove decisive for the country's future stability. For now, Iran's top leadership has made its position clear, placing the blame squarely on foreign powers, even as voices within the country continue to demand change.